So here we are at the beginning of 1988, and we're in a wee room in Savage Studios in Glasgow, turning up religiously day after day, writing songs for the second album, which turns out to be Remote.
It was just the two of us. We didn't include anybody else.
We knew we were going to be recording these songs in New York, would that be right? We had a vision that that's where they were going to end up.
Yeah, the two producers, Harvey and Jimmy, didn't come over from New York this time. We had decided between the four of us that you and I would write the songs in Glasgow and then we'd bring the tapes over to America.
And I've got good memories of walking into that wee room, and I'm wondering what we could be conjuring up that day. I mean, I think we were on a complete roll songwriting-wise. I mean, I would come in, what did I come in with? The bass line to Sweet Invisibility, singing it to you. Doom, 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 do, 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 do.
I didn't quite understand Sweet Invisibility.
Neither did I.
I kind of went along with it just to see where we would end up. Remote, which is a powerful song for us. I remember writing that just with a little drum machine and the piano.
I remember coming into the room and nailing the chorus of Violently really quickly.
Yes.
With the lyric Violently, you came to me, said I could be a different man, and it just the melody just de-escalated so beautifully, and it just was completely natural to the lyric, and we just did it. I mean, it just sort of happened within minutes. But it was a very fertile space. There was a classic moment with Looking for Linda where I was singing a very complicated bridge with a kind of throwaway line, and I said, oh, maybe we can get rid of the throwaway line. You seized me and said, no, that's the chorus. Never stop looking for Linda. And I'm like, well, really, does it have to be, Gregory? Yes, and then sing it again, and then sing it again.
Sorry.
So we had a collection of the songs for the album that was going to be Remote, made them in Glasgow, took them to New York again, and into this situation where our producers were ready for them. We had a budget for all the best musicians in New York to come and play on it, and we'd started the ball rolling. And I mean, I don't know whether it's like for you, Gregory, but it's like this kind of permanent cinema scene of moments of people coming in and playing and loving the songs and taking them up to another level, and us taking up to another level again. And I think the way I described it at the time was that you guys had all these kind of beautiful cushions arranged on the floor, and I would just sort of plonk on top of them and sort of sing away like a carefree linty. So rather than having titanic struggles over hi-hats, I would be sent out into New York to go to bookshops or museums and then come back at the end of the day and listen to the magic that had been brewed up. I mean, the one scene I do remember is listening with you to the first performance of the horn chart on Sweet Invisibility, and every remaining hair in my head standing straight upwards, and the producers saying, I wonder if we should maybe just cut a little bit out of that and cut a little bit out of that and reduce it and constrain it. We were like, no, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. And I remember Dennis Chambers playing on 3 Foot Blast of Fire. I mean, after having been about 2 days late and then turning up and being a genius.
It was you that kind of, I want this person, I want that person, I want this person, and you kind of drove it. It was your kind of vision to do it. There was a few things that didn't happen in Remote.
Yeah.
So we booked Bobby McFerrin
to
sing back vocals.
My God.
And he phoned and he said, I'm sorry guys, but I've just released a song called Be Happy.
Don't worry, be happy. Oh God.
So I don't really have the time to come and sing backing vocals on one of your tracks. That we understand, Bobby, that's okay. And then the other two we booked Wendy and Lisa to come and play on Ordinary Angel.
Yeah.
And it just never, the schedules never worked. We couldn't get them in. And so there was a few disappointments, but the people that did come and play, the first person was Andy Newmark, the drummer.
The great Andy Newmark.
That played with Sly Stone and played with John Lennon. David, and also
Brian Ferry,
the famous drum intro to Young Americans.
Yep.
So Andy came in and he's such an energy, soft Bermudian, quite floaty for a New Yorker. And famous story about Andy Newmark. He was playing in the song violently, and we played through the song, and then the very last chorus, Harvey thought that he could have played it a bit nicer, and we talked about it. So we wound the tape back and played the tape, and I was watching Andy Newmark, and he's singing along. He's doing his thing, and then ready to punch in, so Harvey goes up, gives him the count to punch in, and punches in the drums in the last chorus, and all he hears, violently. There's no drums, and Harvey panics and stops the tape. He's like, man, he's like, oh sorry man, I got into the song, I didn't, oh I'm supposed to play there?
And then the flip side of that was when we got the great Ron Carter in to play on bass, Miles Davis's bass player, Herbie Hancock's bass player, everybody's bass player, and we're getting him to play this synth jazz song called Where We Wish to Remain. And I think it was either you or Harvey tried to intervene to kind of get him to play a certain thing, and he would just hold up his fingers and go, wait a minute, not finished yet. And it was like the great Ron Carter being the great Ron Carter. Played it absolutely beautifully. And then, of course, the other people that we're so proud to have on was both the Brecker brothers. It was like the celestial heavens had dropped into the laps of two guys from Coatbridge, and we just had an absolute ball, a complete ball. And I remember a roadie once saying about, he says, see Remote, it's too good for people, it's too good for people. And we did, we wrote the strongest songs we could, with the biggest messages in the lyrics. I mean, stuff like Ordinary Angel is another classic defined by New York, because the beginning of it is this sitar player and another Indian instrument is at the beginning of
Tabla.
Pulled off the streets. I mean, where else in New York would you get
a duduk as well?
A duduk, would you get a combination of a duduk, a tabla, Broadway horn section, Will Lee on bass, who was at that point was in the Letterman band, and it all comes together in the one song. There's probably only one place on the planet where all those different elements to come together, and that would be New York. And we were orchestrating it. We were pulling all these elements together for a record. It's the most exciting time musically of my life, I have to be honest.
I got the car, delivers the goods, feels the way it happened.
John Faddis, famous jazz trumpeter, did the solo in Violently, and he ended the solo with a jazz split, and I loved it. But the producers, Harvey and Jimmy, were like, Greg, we need to fix that. And I said, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. That's the way a jazz trumpet player would finish that solo. So when Michael Brecker was in playing, and Harvey, the producer, said to Michael, if we sample John Faddis' trumpet, can you fix that last note? And Michael said, yeah. He was very accommodating. So they sampled John's trumpet into the sampler, and when it gets to the end of the solo in Violently, Michael Brecker plays the last note, and he plays it bang in because it's a sampling EB instrument. Now that caused the biggest rumpus amongst the jazz musicians in New York, because it got out that Michael Brecker had fixed John Faddis' last note.
Jazz wars. Yeah, I mean, it was like a jazz pantheon of talent mixed in with us trying to write pop songs, and that was the deal. Your idea of a good gig is four guys in cheap suits with their backs to the audience. So how do you take that vibe and put that into popular song? I mean, that's been the theory for as long as I can remember, and it was brought to its peak in Remote.
So the first single from Remote was Ordinary Angel, and we filmed the video for Ordinary Angel in London.
Pretending to be in New York.
I think basically a record company said, Nick, no more New York. You've spent too much time, too much money in New York.
Do it in Camden.
And then we went on tour. We called it the Remotely Interesting Tour. Was it you that was naming these tours?
I don't know, hope not. I mean, one of the consistent parts of this story, and each chapter of this story, is the degree to which we have built up support for the music through strong touring, you know, and through trying to make the live performance not second rate but first rate, and trying to make sure we devote as much time and resources and thoughtfulness to it as we could. So I think that stood us in good stead over the years, but I think we started that early. And that tour, I remember coming out onto the stage with that band and being genuinely like thrilled to be there. I'm in the midst of music that I would choose to listen to if I was given a free choice, and I'm right in the middle of it, and I've got to step up to the mic to start singing the first verse. But the sound that they made, they were very skillful and they were very into it. So it was a great combination of passion and skill from those guys. Made the tours absolutely swing.
So after the tour, at the end of 1988, beginning of 89, we released Looking for Linda. And lots of airplay, lots of support from radio.
Lots of interest because we've made it clear that the song is a true story, a real story. So lots of people are wondering, who is Linda? Can you bring her forth to stand in front of the camera and talk about what she? I mean, that never happened, and that's a whole other story. But it was an engaging song. It was intended to be a kind of social commentary song. So again, we were getting picked up for stuff that was actually quite difficult material. If you think about, Ordinary Angel or Labour of Love. That wasn't a problem for us. We could write about reality and her despair and her struggle to be autonomous, and it seemed to be able to be making it all the way through the system to playlists on Radio 1, videos on television, performances on television. So I don't know whether we were charmed, or I don't know whether people just could hear, the right people could hear exactly what we were trying to do. We were trying to make pop music a place for sophistication and maturity and complexity, whether it's lyrical or musical. But it was a hooky song. Never Stop Looking for Linda is a hooky song.
We needed a hit, brother.
We, at that time, with Ordinary Angel, have not made the top 40. We did need a hit, and we delivered a hit. I mean, we were on a real pop roll, because after Looking for Linda did its job, we decided to bring out, as a third single, a song called Violently, which I think is our attempt at writing a power ballad. But it's funny, it's a power ballad about male fragility, so again, trying to kind of mix things up, make things complicated at the heart of the mainstream.
And meanwhile, when Violently was getting into the charts and we did another Top of the Pops for Violently, Remote, the album, was still in the charts.
Yeah.
And it was still going up the charts. So, and the venues were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these weren't like #1 hit singles, they were like kind of top 20 singles. So after some time off, we come back with a dance remix of Sweet Invisibility.
So we're promoting the dance version of Sweet Invisibility, but there's a great event rumbling towards me and you, but me in particular, which is my daughter's imminent birth. So that happens on September the 22nd. Grace comes screaming and shouting and bawling into the world. And then the very day after that, we do one of our most famous and well-known gigs on the Renfrew Ferry in Glasgow, called Bittersweet, which is filmed and recorded. And it's one of these ones where the stress is completely overtaken by joy, and you're in a state of delirium.
I don't know how you did that gig.
But I did it because it was a beautiful context, a beautiful setting, a beautiful set of songs. And all I could just do was to kind of pour out my emotion. That's all I had to do. That was my job on the day. And do you know what? It was easy to do.
Nestling the Billy and the Tim.
So towards the end of 1989, we embark on yet another huge tour.
Yep.
This is the biggest tour we've ever done. This is venues like the Glasgow SCCC, 11,000 seater capacity, 2 nights. The London Hammersmith Odeon, 5,000 seater capacity, 2 nights, all sold out. And we take our entourage on this tour in our double-decker tour bus
with wardrobe ladies and catering.
catering and wardrobe lady. And we take our albums remote and suggesting the band out, and we play them as well as we can to these huge audiences all around the UK. A lot of pressure on us to pull these gigs off. The big shows we did in the SECC, because we'd just done the Bittersweet thing, we put a stage right in the middle of the audience.
That's right.
And halfway through the show, you and I came off the main stage. We ran to the middle of the hall. All the bouncers made a corridor
for us,
and we ran through the crowd onto the stage, and we played Man with Charlie's Eyes, Mother Glasgow, all the kind of
acoustics. Do you know what? All those gigs were maximum gigs, but something had to give. And what gave was my voice on the second night of a vast crowd at the SEC in Glasgow. And I think I had been giving it welly every single night, and I hadn't been keeping anything in reserve. And I hadn't, maybe a lack of experience of knowing how to pace myself.
You're also a new father.
I'm also a new father, true. But anyway, I don't have a voice before I go on, and I think, I wonder if I can just relax and something can come out and I can build up to a voice on the gig. And basically, after about 2 verses, nothing comes out. Absolutely nothing. There's no movement in the throat. It's as tight as a sheet of glass, and I have to come off stage. And it's happened to me several times in my career. It's the single thing I most want to avoid, but that was kind of the first time that it happened, and such a major moment. And it's a terrible thing for a singer to experience, because you feel as if you've let everybody down. You feel as if your talent is fragile. It's not going to last. You're breaking what is the golden goose, etc., etc. Everybody was so nice about it, so supportive. I think I was flown down to a Harley Street doctor the next day to have my throat examined, because they had to deal with the insurance on the gig.
But you had to have an official...
So I had to go and have an official probing.
Sick line?
A sick line, literally. I had to go to Harley Street to get a sick line. But that was an indication. That was the sort of first time in the insane Hue and Cry work schedule, which will have been obvious through these episodes and these documentaries. Something had to give.
So at the end of '89, we played these huge gigs and this huge tour. Remote had, by the end of the year, it had spent 44 consecutive weeks in the top 75 in the UK charts. Nearly a year that album had spent in the charts.
And then we did a wee dance, and then we just fell over and laid on the ground and groaned slowly. But a good year, a very, as the song would say it on Bittersweet, that was a very good year.
That was a fine year.